The 2021 Southern Summer Conference. Industry Trends and Trajectory with Tom Daglis, Allan Jensen, Michele Krause, and Worchester.
Next presentation is Tennis Industry Trends and Trajectory. We have an amazing, diverse panel of experts up here. Allan Jensen, TSR for Diversity and Inclusion for the Southern USTA office, covers 9 states. Did I get that right? Yep. I misspelled his name, but I got that part right. Tom Daglis, the past president for the USPTA National Board, longtime Southern member, Southern president. He's been a tester, he's been a sales rep, he's been literally everything in tennis, and also a very good friend. So, Tom Daglis, Michele Krause, cardio tennis. Do I need to say anything else? Past, present, and future of cardio tennis. And I say this for everyone out there, thank you for being back with cardio tennis. She actually did take a little time off. She was pursuing a career as a professional clogger on the circuit, but she's back now. You paid for the conference, the jokes are free. And then a special guest, Ann Worchester, the president of Universal Tennis, Jimmy.
In case anybody didn't know.
She's with UTR. So, what we're going to do is talk about kind of the trends in the tennis industry and kind of where we're going. But each one of them is going to kind of share their story of kind of where they've been, where they are now, and then we'll come back with your questions. So, ladies first, Michele.
Hi. So I am known as the cardio tennis girl, or something of that nature. I was at the beginning of cardio tennis back in 2005. I'm going to just share a little history because most people do not know the history of cardio tennis. So in about 2004, Jim Baugh, who at the time was the president of the Tennis Industry Association, and Jolene DeBoer, who was with the TIA. Jim Baugh was also USTA National Board member, and he was a stats guy and a numbers person, and that's why he was so successful in business. And so he looked at the stats at the time, and the stats said fitness activities are kicking the butt of traditional sports. Okay? It wasn't just tennis, it was football, basketball, volleyball, etc. And Jim said, what can tennis do as an industry to compete in that arena? And that was how the concept of cardio tennis was born. Now, fast forward to 2021, actually I'll go back to 2019 because I know we missed a year and a half somewhere, and the fitness industry did take a big hit. Okay, but if you look back at 2019, you could still argue that fitness activities are kicking the butts of traditional sports. So I feel that we have a product that we can compete, and we will compete, and it has not reached its potential. So we are here this weekend to help move forward cardio tennis and to make sure that we are reaching the potential with that, and that the tennis industry remains a very strong and viable and healthy industry. So.
Hi, I'm Ann Worchester, and I'm president of Universal Tennis, but I've been in pro tennis for 35 years, and so most people know me as having been the CEO of the WTA, or the longtime tournament director of the WTA and ATP tournaments in New Haven the week before the U.S. Open on the campus of Yale University. My passion throughout my career was always leveraging pro tennis to build the community game, especially in the inner city where kids did not have access. So when we had to sell the tournament to China, the very next logical step was for me to find some way that I could grow the game. And I was really drawn to technology and Universal Tennis as a platform. And of course, Universal Tennis, the company, is much more than a rating. UTR rating is the most accurate global rating system in the world. It rates everyone on the same 16-point scale, regardless of your age, your gender, your socioeconomic background, or your nationality. And it was, developed by college coaches more than 12 years ago in Virginia, because college coaches needed the gold standard of a rating when there's 2,500 ratings out there. But 3.5 years ago, our CEO, Mark Leshley, together with Roger Federer's teammate and Novak Djokovic and Tennis Channel, Sinclair, Tennis Australia, the organizers of the Australian Open, Larry Ellison, the co-founder of Oracle, came together, bought the company, and the rating is still the foundation of the company, but it's so much more. It's now this very diverse engagement platform with tools and technologies and solutions for high school tennis, for college tennis, for clubs of all shapes and sizes, for academies, for municipalities, for NJTLs. And just over the past year and a half, we've also launched all kinds of new products, everything from team tennis to flex leagues. We're now launching adult leagues in Q3, and Jimmy mentioned we've just launched this paid hits product. And we're also, in our spare time, running a Utr Pro Tennis Tour, which is a $20 million commitment over 3 years for those lower-ranked players, 200 to 2,000, to help them with playing opportunities and prize money, and to build a pathway to the Pro Tours. Never ever trying to replace ATP and WTA rankings, but helping those lower-ranked men and women with a pathway. So I'm 27 years in Connecticut. I'm a Northeastern girl. I just moved to Nashville, I swear, last month. And I just joined this country club last week. And so I was talking to Andy Zoden, the president of Intermountain. I was telling him that that Bill had invited me to participate. He goes, boy, Ann, the length you'll go to moving to the state or joining the country club just to be a part of this conference. So thank you all for having me, and thank you, Bill. And super excited about this partnership with USPTA National and the divisions. And it's all just about building awareness and helping you all understand the benefits of universal tennis for your facility, for your club. Everybody's so different. And then, as John Embry always likes to say, it's a market-driven economy. You can make your own decision based on it. So, thank you for having me.
Allan?
Well, I'm Allan Jensen. I'm originally from Argentina, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Came to the States to play college tennis in Hawaii, so I lived there for 5 years before I moved to Atlanta. I was director of tennis for 15 years in Atlanta, and then I made a transition to work for USTA Southern. So I'm actually the tennis service representative for Hispanic outreach. So basically my job is to go around the states talking to providers, especially the community, and see how we can promote tennis into the Hispanic community. As you know, there is I would say almost 20 million people Hispanic in this country, and they don't play tennis. They play soccer or other sports. And I'm going to throw you a number that you'll be thinking about it. Do you know what is the buying power of the Hispanic population nowadays?
10 seconds.
No, the buying power. Well, how much money they do have?
Oh, I don't know.
Nope. They have $1.3 trillion. Okay, so there is so as you can see, that is an area where we have not been able to promote tennis, and I think that is an area that we should be thinking about that when we are thinking about, especially if we are in a public facility, private, even parks and rec. That's we need to go out there and get those kids and the parents involved in tennis. I think that there's, how many Hispanic do we have in our lessons, in our teams? There's not many. we should have like around 20% of Hispanic at least playing on our teams, and nothing else. So that's what I do, and you know, I do a lot of different programs around the country. Around the South. We had an activity last week at the Tourist Atlanta Open with 20 kids that never played tennis. We were able to secure a grant to give them some tennis shoes, and also be able to play during the summer for a whole week of tennis camp. And now those kids are coming back and doing some other program, and the parents are supporting those kids. So that's what we do.
Sure, Tom?
Well, I've been in tennis my entire adult life, and I've done just about a little bit of everything. Probably not everything well, but a little bit of everything. I guess I started as a tennis coach at Harry Hopkins International Tennis Academy. We were one of the top players in the world. I've been a director of platinum country clubs. I've been a director of commercial facilities where bottom line was always imperative. Most recently, I've been the director at the largest hard court facility in the United States in North Georgia, with 64 courts. I've been a professor and director of PTM programs at 2 different universities, and I was also a Babylon rep. One of the first Babylon reps to come into North America. So I've touched almost every area of the industry. And my suggestion to everybody here is, you don't know what you're good at until you try some different things. You're going to find that you excel in certain areas, and you're weak in certain areas. And I encourage everybody to go out and see what you're really good at and where you're passionate. If I had my druthers of everything that I've done, I love the university, I love the PhD program, I love to teach college kids, and that really excited me. But you don't really know that until you try some things. A lot of times we're trying to follow the dollar, we're trying to follow exposure, but really what you want to do for the rest of your life comes from inside. And test the waters, my suggestion.
So we've got an amazing panel here. Thinking about your questions, one of the first questions, which is the elephant in the room. I'm going to hit you with this first group. What is the impact that pickleball is having on the tennis industry, and kind of where are we going with that in your thoughts? So, anyone? Yeah.
Pickleball is here to stay. There's no question about it. And you see there's more money being pushed into pickleball. You're seeing professional pickleball tournaments. You're seeing players that were experts in tennis are getting paid to play pickleball and make money and prize money. I mean, there's people out there that it's going to be a factor. So everybody's got to adapt. Clubs have to adapt. Membership has to be able to have access to pickleball. And I think those that want to put it on the shelf and not touch it are going to lose out on it.
Any of the other three want to weigh in? Or questions about?
I have a question. What do you think what sparked pickleball? Why did it explode like it has?
I think because as everybody's aging, and I take a look at myself, I can't play tennis anymore. I've had knee operations. I'd like to play pickleball. I haven't played much, but it's something that I can do eventually. And I think as tennis is aging, in which you'll see all the tennis pros and the environment of tennis is aging, it gives us another venue to continue to have some kind of competitive juice. I think that's started it. Plus, it's easy to play. I think that's probably the easiest thing.
Yeah, I would just expand upon that to answer the question. I think when people are 50 plus, like I am, they want to start something new and they want to be good quickly. They don't want to have to wait 10 years. Like playing golf, in order to be good at something. Although pickleball is definitely catching fire at much younger ages as well. And I think you can go out, get good, and not have to worry about pulling a hammy, right? But I look at it differently. Like, I definitely think it's here to stay from the grassroots perspective. It's accessible, it's affordable, it's easy to play. But, a lot of people ask me, do you think there could ever be a professional pickleball circuit? And I guess I don't see it as a spectator sport, and I don't see it as a television sport. rights and sponsorship rights and massive ticket sales, so.
I'm gonna add on to Ann. So there's cornhole, and that is on ESPN. Every time I turn ESPN on.
So it's
Okay.
Along with axe throwing.
I don't know what the sponsorship dollars are, but I think they're the sausage companies, okay? So maybe there is, maybe there
Yeah, it
is.
is a different demographic.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely Olympics.
Have
You seen some of the Olympics?
See, I have a little bit of different opinion about it, and not because I'm coming from USDA, but it's because of this. We had the same thing happening in Argentina 30 years ago, something like 35 years ago. Paddle came into the country, and it was booming like crazy. Everybody was playing paddle. They took tennis courts away, put paddle courts, and then after that, it died. After, I don't know, 4 years. But everybody was playing paddle. But then it died out, and then they went back into tennis. They went into soccer for a little bit, and then they are back in tennis. So I'm not sure, if it's just, I know that they took a lot of tennis courts away, and I think that they can coexist if they just don't take the tennis courts away, and they stay, they build their own courts. But I don't know, I just, we had the same boom in Argentina, and it died out, and now paddle is not as popular as Europe.
What were some of the factors that killed it off? Was there any primary factors, or was it just it died?
I think it just died. People just lost interest on it, and they just went back into other sports. They went into tennis back. And I think that it all depends. I think it all depends too with, right now, here in the United States, we don't have like in the 80s or 90s, or, that we have Roddick, or we had Agassi, or we have, in Argentina, there was a time that we didn't have enough good players. So that's when people went into something else. So I think that's the key. I think that if we had more players, good players, American players, I think it might not, we wouldn't be losing that many courts to pickleball.
Some of you may or may not know this. There are pickleball courts on the USTA national campus alongside paddle courts. I don't know what that says for tennis, but they're there. And to somebody's question earlier, pickleball, and I hated pickleball when it came out. I play it 2 or 3 times a week, but it started off real kumbaya like tennis was back in the old days. Everybody kind of played and helped each other, and it has gone not so much kumbaya anymore. Everybody's kind of got different levels, and it's starting to get those groups that tennis has. So, whatever it's
There's
worth.
more injuries too.
And there's some cool hammies.
There's a lot of them.
There's a couple of hammies.
Can I make a quick deal on what Tom said?
Yes.
Okay, so, I think Tom summed it up really well. One little thing I wanted to add to it is that one thing about pickleball, from my experience that I've witnessed at our club, is A, tennis players won't play with C tennis players. But those same tennis players go out and play pickleball, and the gap is so much smaller. They can have a good time. It's so much about social. I mean, I can see pickleball becoming almost like a top golf. I wish I had $1 zillion. I would top
Well,
pickleball.
but if you look at it, playing pickleball is like playing mini tennis with a
And then the other thing is,
foam ball and a tennis racket.
I mean, you could almost have a pickleball court right in here. So it's, whereas like,
You could also play tennis right here.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I mean,
I'm
you
gonna
can set
put-
up a
I'm gonna
full
put
size- you
barrier
can set up a
tape,
full
and I'm
size
gonna have the
pickleball
red or
court.
the orange ball, and I'm gonna play tennis. So where we missed the boat,
That's right.
okay, is we missed a boat with the balls. All right, we missed that boat, and that's why we are in a pickle with pickle. Okay, as an industry, as a totality, if we all got on the same page and said, these balls are magical, okay, the orange and the green ball, they are pure magic, okay, pickleball would still be there, okay, but would not be as big as a presence and us having to talk about it at every single conference, tennis conference that we do.
But look at this. When did they come out? When did they come out with the red ball?
Okay,
15
Well,
years ago.
those balls have been around forever.
Exactly.
Okay, we didn't embrace them until 10 and under tennis kind of got some groundswell. And at that pigeonholed it as a kid's ball, and that's what killed us, right? And we as a collective group have got to get over that, and it's got to come from us as the coaches. Okay, we are the experts, we are the pros, we know what's best, and you know what? The orange ball, green ball, whatever, it's magical. It solves all of our problems, doesn't it, Dan? It solves all of our problems.
You know, when they came out with a Red Bull, you know, I was teaching, and I was just like, I said, guys, I played that when I was 5 years old. I said, why? Now it's like the best thing ever. You know, I think that sometimes here we are really thinking that we have everything, but we forget that there is other parts of the world that they do have. You know, in Europe they use the Red Bull forever. So I think that, you know, that's why you're right.
We had two questions back there.
Very good.
So real quick on the pickleball, do you know how many players played in the recent Atlanta Open pickleball tournament?
Over 1,000.
Yeah.
1,168 players. And I have some good friends that were, you know, #1 in the country, men's 40 tennis, very small, but they're all big time pickleball players. I mean, all the guys in that room have all moved. Even the Pine Tree Country Club, very little tennis anymore. It's all pickleball. The only thing that I'm at Legacy Park, we have 11 tennis courts. So I called USTA about doing more lines on our court, and they said, you cannot put pickleball lines on your tennis court. They will void the match.
That's right, yeah.
And so we have one court, only a walk-on court, that is allowed to have that. What I do is, with my research company, I chalk all of our lines. I used to use kids' chalk to just run the lines. I put little markers on where all the lines are to run the chalk every week, because I run pickleball leagues all the time too. But, is there a reason why they just have that clash? It's because they didn't really get with USTA early, saying, "Hey, why don't you just use the service box?"
Well, there's been
There's
been talks about that, and the pickleball didn't want to do do it a little bit more narrow and a little bit more longer, so that the lines wouldn't affect. And
Yeah, I use the 10U lines. Pretty much, I just mark the back line.
Well, but the thing is this: why is it that we cannot build pickleball courts? Why do they have to take the tennis courts away? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we spin them on LED lights, not cool.
Okay. Oh, but that's a good expense.
So two things. One, we're addressing that issue in South Carolina. Is trying to talk with the Parks and Rec that obviously are saying, well, we've got these tennis courts, just throw some lines on it, call it a day, we spend X amount of dollars, and find these courts that maybe there's a bank of 1 or 2 courts where they're not going to be used for league tennis, etc., and kind of use those to put on the pickleball lines and make those. So that's something I think we missed to begin with, is that instead of taking these huge facilities and now we can't play a USDA match and it's over, find these other underutilized courts, which goes back 15 years that we didn't utilize the courts. In Atlanta one year, they had a meeting and said, these people threw down some lines and we didn't know it. We tried to have a tournament, we were done. Well, how did you not know they threw lines on your court? But anyway, Michelle's point with the balls, we missed that huge. And now we've got a bunch of adults that are going to be getting older, but when their kids started, they were told those balls were little kids. So that's going to be a big uphill battle. We had a semi-successful orange ball program with a bunch of my old people. But what we ran into is that they played next to some of the quote-unquote better tennis players that were looked down upon because, well, why are you playing with the little kids' balls? So we've got a major uphill battle in that, but it's very useful. But I don't know how we're going to change that because now you've got 20 years of people saying those are only for kids.
So the best way is to any of your beginner starter players, you get them on red and orange immediately, they will never look back. So you're going to have those people that have been playing tennis for 30 years or whatever, or 20 years, and they're never going to change, and that's fine. We're not going to change all of them. But we have an opportunity to get those other people started, and they will never look back, and they will embrace those balls. We need a paradigm shift in this industry. Tennis can look different, and it's still tennis. Okay? We are now in cardio tennis. It's all about 2 bounces. Why would we not play 2 bounces? I'm going to go play pickle because I can't move. Okay, well, guess what? Well, now when you play 2 bounces, guess what? You have so many more touches on the ball. We're not going to the U.S. We're not playing at the U.S. Open, except for Tina. We're Tina that should play at the U.S. Open. The rest of us are not. So again, I challenge you to open your mind and to educate your people that we can still play this sport, which is the greatest sport in the whole world, okay? And it can have a different look, okay, than 4 people on a court with a yellow ball playing doubles and barely touching a ball.
So, to follow on from that, and going to your point about people looking down, why can't we keep older people, well, I don't want to insult them, I'm older, I'm 66, but people who, like me, have had 5 knee surgeries, can only play on a soft court, and people that may be even older, 70, 80 plus, who can't play on a 78-foot court. What's wrong with them going back to a 60-foot court with an orange ball instead of playing pickleball?
Exactly.
Can't we promote that? Not just that it's a kid's thing, but it is also something for adults, and keep them in tennis as opposed to letting them go over to pickleball.
Comes from the coach. I'm going to go back to coaches. It comes back to us educating, doing by example. I always ask in the room, and I'll ask this room, okay, as a coach, when you go out and train, practice for yourself in tennis, and you grab that partner who's of equal, similar ability level that you love to train with, do you ever go out for yourself and hit and play with the green ball? Do you ever go out and hit, play for yourself with the orange ball? If you don't do that and know what it feels like, how are you ever going to be able to express that to your customer? If you understand the benefits of the green, I say the orange ball is magical, but the green ball is my favorite ball. You know why? Because now I look like a pro. Okay, like I'm already I'm many a bit points higher just because I started playing with the green ball. And nobody coached me, nobody tweaked my forehand, I just changed the ball. So again, I won't look for answers, but ask yourself, are you doing that? And if you haven't done it, please go out and find that person of equal or similar ability level and rip the bejesus out of the green ball. And you will have so much fun that you're like, yeah, forget that yellow ball. I'm going to play green. I'm going to be the green ball champion of the country. I told Dan that earlier today. So.
Jose, we'll come back to John.
Yes. I think both sports can coexist. It would be good for everybody. Now, the reason for me why pickleball is exploding is because we didn't own it. Now, at my age, I cannot compete at the level that I would compete when I was younger in tennis tournament. But now in pickleball, I can compete in tournament. And that to me is huge. So, just coexist. No problem.
John, how does spec tennis fit into the picture?
I don't know enough to comment
What is that?
on that. Bill, my
It's-
understanding of spec is they're using the orange or the green ball. Is
The
that
orange
correct?
or the green ball is very similar to pop tennis, which when 3 or 4 years ago, when Ted Connor was kind of help driving that, it was getting some legs. We actually ran a pop tennis tournament at our Southern Division conference in Louisiana down there. So it's still out there. I think it's in this little bitty small pocket of the country, but I don't know what the answer is. It's like there's still pop tennis out there. There's still paddle tennis. There's still
But there is two different paddle tennis.
There's
Padel,
Spanish
paddle,
paddle,
there's paddle. Yeah.
So
and
basically,
platform tennis.
Platform.
yeah. So maybe they should just merge all of them together.
There's options.
You got options.
I think
It's a buffet. So racket sports buffet.
It's really big in
But what?
California.
But also, that you see the other sports, they are all accommodating to the level of play and the level of ages too. You get older and you play soccer, you play in a smaller court because you don't want to you cannot play in a full court. So it's the same with the older generation of tennis players, you should be playing smaller.
Question.
I'm just gonna start pickle, but playing at a high level of pickle with all the dinking, I don't find much easier on my body. I find tennis
It's
easier on my
tough
body
on the
than
knees.
pickle. I know, and I think it's a smart way to advertise, to say it's easier on your body, but my personal experience is, you dink 20 balls back cross court or however, I feel it in my knees and my back.
That's why
And,
people are getting hurt.
What?
That's why people are getting hurt.
But then people say, as I get older, I want to play, I guess maybe the smaller court, but still, play it at a higher level, play well, it's still a pretty tough sport on your body.
It is. I live in Florida, by the way. I live in Sarasota, and I will tell you that everybody's 150 years old. Okay? So, and all I see is people going like this, falling over on the pickleball court, over and over. So you say, okay, well, I'm not going to do tennis because my body won't allow me. I'm going to go down move to the smaller court. Well, as soon as you decrease the playing field, okay, whether it's the soccer pitch or the tennis court or the basketball court, or in golf, we have the different tees. As soon as you that doesn't count as much, but when you decrease the playing field, you automatically have more touches on the ball. Okay, that actually equals more movement. Okay, so pickleball is already cardio-ish, okay, at the higher levels, right? Because there's all these very quick movements and a lot of touches on the ball. So it's not necessarily better for an older clientele. So if you have a knee issue or a hip issue, that's not going to get better in pickleball. Exactly. Exactly.
That's where
You're my best friend.
We gotta figure out a way to
Well,
pull that
this is
up.
what I'm
That
saying.
was a blast this morning, doing Red Bull with Emma
Right.
this morning. Was it?
But this is what I'm saying. We as a group, okay, we are all friends. We are all colleagues, right? Okay, we live in might live in different parts, but we all have to be on the same page. The pandemic was in some ways helpful for tennis, but are we going to retain all these people? Are we going to be able to keep that growth up? And we do have an aging population, but we have to collectively work this together.
So real quick, that was one of the questions that came from the group earlier. We saw increased growth in casual play during the pandemic. As a panel, as a group, how do we continue that moving forward? Because we're apparently coming out of the pandemic. I don't know, I think Donald cut it out, didn't he hear the pandemic?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Moving on.
Moving on, okay. How do we continue on?
Real quick, I focus on the junior programs, most places I've been at, the club I'm at now for 12 years, but I'm focused on kids. We need to keep the kids going. The adults, play pickleball, have fun. Keep at it. It is bad, it does hurt, but don't play at a high level if you don't want to get hurt. Any sport you play at a high level, you might get in. But focus on our kids. I'm trying to draw kids to play sports. The Orange and Red Bull helps a lot. My beginner ladies programs, my beginner guys, they play with green ball or orange ball. I don't get them in the red too much, but we do have fun with the red. But yeah, I focus on the kids.
Let me tell you one experience that I had. I wanted the 8 and under to play a lot of tennis now, but I wasn't sure about them playing actually matches. Okay, and I had Bill Dog always said, "Come, he's the TSR for Southern," and he would come to my facility and say, "Hey, when are you going to do a 8 and under?" And I was like, "I'll do one team soon." So he came every month until I said, "You know what? I'm going to do one." And I decided to go ahead and get, selected 6 kids, and I said, "Hey, you guys are going to be playing tennis matches every Saturday afternoon. It will take like 30 minutes of your time." And the parents said, "Okay, let's do it." So I decided to put that group at the same time that I had the 8 and under beginners. Because, I said, well, might as well do it. If I see someone, I can put them in. And then those kids started to play tennis, and they started enjoying it. And they started to go out with their parents and play some tennis. And the other group, the parents were, well, John is a friend of Michael. Why is it that he cannot be on the same team? And I was just like, well, he needs to go ahead and get these things ready so he can get into that team. Well, but, they play soccer together. And that's where I clicked. I said, well, the kids need to play matches to feel like they're actually playing tennis. If they are not playing matches, why am I playing them? So I decided to do those matches. Kids were coming. Parents were like, what do I need to do for my son to be in that group? And I said, well, they need to practice at least twice more with you during the week. And that's what they started doing. And my junior program just flourished because I started getting all these 8 and under that they would move up to 10 and under, and I had 2 teams of orange ball, and then I would have 2 teams of green dot. And the junior program went from, 20, 30 kids to 50, 60, 70 kids. So if you haven't done any of those 8 and under kids, like actually play league, and you can, my level was not that much. It wasn't very good, but I would talk to the opponent's coach and say, listen, my team is very beginner. Why don't you put the beginner team so they can have a good ride? And they did it. I mean, it was a lot of fun. So if you can do it, embrace that. Red ball is good.
Question.
I was just going to say another way to, it's a huge opportunity for the sport to retain all these players that picked up a racket for the first time or came back to the sport and during COVID. Most of the teaching pros I know have been more slammed this summer than ever before because it's tennis season and there's all these extra players, right? So, one of the reasons that 183%, there was a 183% increase in the number of clubs that came on to the universal tennis platform during COVID is because it gives you the ability to run unlimited events at a moment's notice, flexible format of your choosing based on the tennis population you're trying to serve, competitive juniors, adult social play, COVID-friendly, socially distant events, and you can charge whatever's appropriate for your market and for your facility, because everybody's different. And so, and you get all your players rated, you get everybody on one roster in one central place, all your events, all your programming, all your messaging, and it makes it that much easier to message with all of your players, but also for your players to find level-based play. And the research shows that if somebody wants to go out and have a great match of tennis, they want to play something more or less at their same level. It's competitive, but it's still fun. I mean, when kids go out and play tournaments and lose love and love, or 1-1, and they go home with their tail between the legs, you lose them. You lose them to other sports. You lose them to other activities. And so promoting level-based play is a very valuable way to retain all these players that have come back to tennis or come to tennis. And let's keep attracting new ones, right? So, they're little cinch bags that we gave you as your party favor. There's this one pager that just talks about the benefits, and I'd like to learn more, we're happy to have that conversation. But level-based play improves the player experience. So you can increase participation, increase revenue, reduce your costs, and improve the player experience. Get everybody rated all in one place. Makes life a lot easier.
So one of the questions that was asked earlier was how many people got into the tennis business to be just a tennis coach or a tennis teacher? So how many of you got into it for that? If you would raise your hand. Okay. And what have you become since then? Are you more than just a coach or a teacher? And Tom, if you want to jump in on this.
I just think that years ago people got into tennis because they loved tennis and they played college tennis. They may not have had a scholarship, and they kind of transitioned into their first job as an assistant, and then moved up to director, head pro, whatever, and they kind of fell into it. And now, the PTM programs are trying to teach people to come into the industry as a career path. And I think that not enough people see it as a career path, and we just kind of fell into it. And there's going to be a slew of good jobs out there within the next 5 years. And I think those younger people that are getting into it as a career path have a very bright future. And I would recommend if you have assistants that are thinking, well, is this for me or this not for me? I mean, there's going to be some great opportunities for the younger pro coming up.
Go ahead.
I mean, so what do you see? So see now, I just changed jobs and kind of helped hire a little bit. And basically what we saw were a bunch of unqualified applicants that applied. And every single, I played college tennis, I just graduated, I'm a director. Where do we as an industry, what do we need to do to
they're receptive, they just don't know. They've been sort of pampered a lot in their livelihood, and they just haven't seen what the real business is like. And it's not to discount, this is a tough business. I mean, you're out there in the sun and long hours and weekends, and one of my last jobs at the public tennis center, there's 104 weekend days in a year, and I was working 92 of them. And how is that going to be successful for a family life? But look at the benefits. Look. I wouldn't trade anything. Both my kids are pros, and it's been great. It's been a rewarding experience for me. We need to make sure that they see that it's a rewarding experience, and I think it's up to us to teach them.
Questions? So, Ann, could you share with us a little bit more about the different opportunities that are on the platform for Universal Tennis? Maybe anything that we missed from the earlier conversation that we want to get across to everybody?
There's probably a very wide range of familiarity with the platform. And this partnership with USPTA is all about education and building awareness, and so we're really happy to get on a Zoom call and do a demo with you and your team anytime. But there's a contact information on the flyer that we're giving everybody in the cinch bag. But basically, it's this very easy to use technology. So anybody that's a little afraid of the technology, don't be afraid. Very easy to use TMS, Tournament Management System, and it gives you the ability to run any kind of events. You're only limited by your own imagination. You can do match play, round robin, bump events, prize money events, open events, co-ed, single sex. And it's as easy as creating a Facebook event on the platform. You get your own personal VIP account manager who helps you get set up and really approaches this very prescriptively. When do you have empty courts? What are your goals? What are your pain points? And then we have a support team that's available almost 24/7 to help you with questions in the middle of the night. You're trying to put together a draw and you're struggling, or you're trying to close scores and you're struggling. So it's easy to use technology, your own account manager, support that's nearly 24/7. And it helps to increase participation, increase revenue, improve the player experience around level-based play. So who doesn't want to do any or all of those things, right?
And as Tom told me earlier, you don't have to be involved with USTA if you're doing Universal. Just kidding. Too soon?
With most of our clubs run USTA events and UTR events just fine. It's additive.
We can all coexist.
Yeah. No. Right. The USTA uses UTR in lots of ways. The National Campus runs UTR events. Most sections use it for seeding. We have a partnership with the foundation where we give our software for free of charge to all those NJTLs. So we'd love to have an overarching partnership. Haven't gotten there yet, but there's Martin Blackman uses all of our data and analytics and player development. There's lots of different ways that we do work together. But most of our facilities run USTA events and Universal Tennis events just fine.
So we have about 5 minutes. You get 1 minute each. Where are we in the tennis industry this time next year? What's it going to look like? What are we going to be doing? Any programs, activities, anything coming down the road that you want to share, or we should be as a group looking to be doing or moving towards? Not all at once.
I think I'm going to backtrack because I think one of our biggest challenges as an industry is staffing our tennis professionals. And this is a challenge that has been going on for a while, and I do not necessarily have the solution. But I think we all have to have an awareness of that. We have some aging out pros. We have unqualified people out there. But I think it's something that has to be in the forefront for all of us because it is going to affect our industry as a totality if we do not have more. As Ann said, coaches across the country are overwhelmed. They're working 7 days a week. They're going to get burnt out. So, again, don't have the answer, but I think that's something we need to address. Second thing is, in a year from now, what people want when somebody comes off of a court from a lesson, and you randomly, somebody asks them, you know, how was your session, or how was it? They typically do not say, well, you know what, Brian, he just tweaked my forehand ground stroke, and he changed the grip, and I'm just hitting better than I've ever hit. They usually come off the court and they say, you know what, I had a great workout, it was fun, if that was the case. That nobody ever gets into that specificity of what they learned on the court. So what does the consumer in 2021, 22 want? They have no time, they want to get a great workout. You know what, a lot of people don't want competition. They just don't. Okay, they have enough competition in their lives. They want to go out, they want to, their mind, they just want to forget like what life is and have a good time for an hour. This is where cardio tennis comes into play. We need more tennis fitness integration within our industry, and so I'm going to help move that forward into 2022, Bill. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
That was a benediction.
Yes. We should probably stop right there, but we still have 2 more minutes. So, Tom.
I think one of the mistakes tennis pros make, in my opinion, is that we go after, we want to be tied to a top rank or something. I think we have to build from the bottom up. You know, I got here an hour early. Kim and I were just walking up and down, watching the camp here. You see all these little mites playing tennis. It's a great look because it introduced the kids as early as possible. And I'll share with you, when I first started, my 2 boys, they were 4 months old. I mean, I think I'm an idiot. And what I did, I put them on the crib in the back, cut down and sterilized the fly swat. I blew bubbles over the crib, and they tracked those bubbles. And they both have great eye-hand coordination and great volley. And I believe that's the key. To start as early as possible and get them into tennis. And not all of them are going to become great juniors. You're going to see a lot of them are going to love it forever.
I'm a new grandfather, and my 5-month-old has a little thing that hangs over his crib, and he's swatting at him, just saying.
Congratulations.
Well, I think
I am way old.
I think we are in a very unique time. We have a lot of people playing tennis, and we need to keep them. But also, I think that there is a lot of people out there that never had the opportunity. And I think that we do have some programs going on that we can provide some brackets and things like that for you guys to do any diverse programming if you want. You know, like for example, I'm in charge of this community program where we give out some packages that are like 30 rackets and other stuff inside. And what we do is we use those to go out and promote tennis in the different communities, especially the communities that have not had a chance to try tennis. Like, for example, when I learned how to play tennis because I found a racket in my house. Nobody took me to a tennis court like, my father didn't ever play tennis. So, I just found it and I started playing. And that's the same thing that you see all these kids that are playing soccer or basketball or volleyball or other sports is they found the ball and they start, shooting the hoops or whatever. And that's what I think that we need to do is try to give more rackets out. You have the state offices that usually have some grants available to work on that. Like we gave we gave almost 70 pair of shoes to underprivileged kids. And they were able to try tennis. So I think that's where we need to do the foundation and try to get those people into tennis. As you know, tennis is not, we think that it's expensive, but it's expensive because, we think about country clubs or when you're good players and then you start playing tennis. But, for what we're looking for, those little kids, they can do tennis in the same with their running shoes or in the garage or, that's where it starts. And when you hook them up, they never leave. So I think that's where we need to focus our efforts.
And let's have the last word.
I agree with everything that everybody has pointed out, and I guess, when I look at how busy you all are and this increased demand for our sport, you are the Tennis or some other platform, help yourselves become, and your team, to become more tech savvy, more tech friendly. Technology will help your teaching pros line up players for all your educational programs, who's on what court for clinics and lessons and summer camps. It'll help your teaching pros match players up for match play, takes all the politics and the emotion out of it if everybody has a rating. It helps players find match play, level-based play. It gives players a measure, a way to track their progress, their improvement. And everybody feels a little bit more important, and even their match play results are posted on the platform. So help your players with the use of technology, help your staff become more efficient, and help your players improve their experience. And I used to always tell our inner city kids, and I still say this to facilities and organizers wherever I go, tennis is the 4 F's. It's fun, it's fitness, it's friendships, and it's forever. What's more gratifying than that? We're so lucky to work in this sport. So let's retain all these players that have come to us and attract new ones. But we've got to be super, super efficient. So I just encourage you to at least think about the use of technology.
All right. Big hand there for the thank you so much.